Hello, Mutton here again, and welcome to another corking day in central Manchester. It's another grey day, although it was a little clearer earlier, but plenty of news for you. I might not be able to go out and about so much after tomorrow because I suspect the Prime Minister's going to announce another national lockdown. And also interesting news on the diet front for you, so please watch the whole of the video and we'll talk more about that later. Anyway, a little bit of cultural content from the centre of Manchester, not much because everything's closed, but we do have a little bit to show you. Unfortunately, the main thing I was going to show you isn't going to be very spectacular because I'm at the town hall in the city centre, one of the most spectacular old Gothic buildings, but unfortunately it's under scaffolds at the moment. But we'll have a little walk around and I'll talk you through the latest developments. Well, there we have it. Now normally this would obviously be a lot busier, but we'd also have a little market, usually a Christmas market, a food market, or sometimes a beer or a food festival in the courtyard or the space in front of the town hall. I've actually been inside once and it is equally spectacular inside. Now I can't see from here whose statue that is in front of me, but I'll try and look it up for you and tell you later on. And a lot of you associate, I know, Manchester with red bricks, hence the term red brick universities, but a lot of the buildings are made from stone in the city centre. Once you go out into the suburbs, more red bricks, yes. And in front of us we have the Manchester Central Library, pretty impressive building, but I have to be embarrassed to say I don't think I've ever been in there. I've used my local library in the past, but not this one. And of course, needless to say, that's closed as well. I think I can cut through to the other side, but I'll have to check that out. As I said, the video is going to be mainly about the diet today, but other smatterings of good news. Firstly, City won 3-1 yesterday at Chelsea. Probably the best performance I've seen for a while from City. And also I was called up by the vaccine trial clinic, so in 2 weeks' time I'm starting off with that. God knows how many injections, swab tests, blood tests and so on and so forth, but it'll be interesting, I think, for you all to keep tabs on how I'm doing, and I will be posting videos on my vaccine trials. Now we are in what they call level 4 UK, the level 4 tier of the UK rather, and there seems to be a bit going on despite that. A lot of trams, people presumably coming to and from work. And Christmas obviously isn't over for some people. And in front of me, Manchester's most famous hotel, the Midland Hotel, which appears to be open. Well, I suppose business travellers have to stay somewhere. No idea what the services are like inside. And to be honest, no idea what people will be able to do and not do tomorrow, but looks like there are 3 pretty tough months ahead. So probably a good time for me to be doing dieting, vaccine trialling, and so on and so forth. Now I did go on a bit in the last video, it was a bit longer than I'd intended, so this one's going to be a lot shorter because not only will we have my dietary videos, we'll have the weigh-in, we'll have football videos, and we'll have vaccine trial videos, so there'll be plenty of content to keep you going. One thing I'm really missing though is going to a football match. I think the last one I went to was in Madrid, all the way back on the 25th of February, and what a game that was. But even to get into one of these games with only 2,000 people in, I'd like that. I'm going to check out this monument. I don't know what it actually is, even though I've lived here most of my life, although those who know me will be fully aware that I spend a hell of a lot of time away from Manchester. Obviously, I'm going to be stuck here for a while now. Let's see what it is. I suspect it's war-related because of the wreaths. Now, I'll have to look at my Roman numeral. MCMXIX. That, what's that? 1919. Coincidentally, the last major flu pandemic was in that era. The Spanish flu. So what do we have here? Let me check out the Roman numerals. MCMXXXIX. That is 1939. 1919. And 1914, and I'm guessing the other side is going to say 1945. Indeed it does. So it's all to do with World Wars I and II. To the honoured memory of those who gave their lives for this country. So two identical obelisks to the left and right. British Nuclear Tests Veterans Association. Wow, this is a monument to people who have died since the British tests. It's hard to read, this is. Christmas Island, 1952 to 1962. To our Italian comrades, 1915 to 1918. A lot of people have actually forgotten about World War I and probably don't realise that Japan and Italy were on our side, as it were, back then, whereas they're associated with being on the other side with in World War II. Korean War, 1950 to 1953. The British involvement in the Korean War, I believe, was pretty minimal, but some people did go. And in an honoured memory of Soviet soldiers who gave their lives liberating Europe, and the brave people of besieged Leningrad, 1941 to 1945. Well, that's good to see. Yes, something to honour the Soviet dead is good to see and highly appropriate, because when we get taught about this at school and when we see programmes, films, it's all about D-Day, the Blitz and Victory Day and Dunkirk, and it really doesn't honour the people who really put the blood and the toil in and won the war. And the Korean monument was interesting because I've been to North Korea and I was a bit surprised in their war museum in Pyongyang. They were parading off a couple of captured British vehicles. I can't remember what they were now. It was a tank or an armoured personnel carrier, and I did have to tell the guides there that Britain had very, very little involvement in the Korean War. I will also have to say that these wars are a little bit too much ingrained on the national psyche of the UK, and there'll be so few people who lived through either of them. I don't think anybody who fought in World War One is still alive, and obviously a number of people who fought and lived in World War Two as children are still, but that's not going to be the case for very long, and we really have to, you know, push it to the back of our thinking and not harp on about it so much. And it's interesting that the year 1919 appeared in that memorial, because that was the year when the Spanish flu came out. Now, again, this will be stuff that a lot of you know, but for those who don't, the last major flu epidemic occurred in 1919. Soldiers were coming back from World War One, spreading it like wildfire, and at first nobody quite knew what it was. And this went through 4 different waves, a bit like we're having at the moment. Now, I've seen a lot of old clippings about some of the similar measures that we use to today, like face masks and distancing, but of course they didn't have anything like the modern equipment, and so comparing death tolls and infection rates between now and then are a little bit unfair. I suspect governments couldn't afford to keep people at home either. It was called the Spanish flu because at the time Spain had no World War I censorship, whereas countries who fought in that war did have censorship, and as is their wont, they tried to cover it up, and Spain didn't. So even though the flu really had nothing to do with Spain, it was named the Spanish flu. And it took a terrible death toll, a bit like the problems we're having now. And it lasted for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And it came about in 4 waves, the second being the most deadly, the third wave being reasonably heavy, and the 4th wave being not so bad. And again, the main culprit was travel without any checks or restrictions. Well, I'm embarrassed to say there's another thing here on my doorstep that I don't recognise. I'm going to go and check it out. Ah, okay, so this is the Manchester Art Gallery. Pretty impressive classical Roman style architecture. Looks interesting, but closed, of course. Anyway, enough of me prattling on. It's time for the main event in this video, which is the weigh-in and the blood test and the start of the diet. So let's go and check the scores on the doors. Well, I did promise in the video that you were going to get the weigh-in. Don't worry, it is coming, but I don't want to make these videos too long and go on and on forever. So I'm going to split the videos up. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please watch the next one. Remember, like and subscribe, and I'll see you very shortly for the weigh-in and the blood test. Bye for now, and remember, you can't beat a bit of mutton.